Welcome to another edition of Spotlight Grenada. I'm Lexand Fletcher, and of course, I'm so happy to share Grenada and Grenadians alike with you, the viewer. For those of you who are Grenadians, I know you're enjoying the series, and for those of you who are not Grenadians, I know you're enjoying it as well. We get lots of feedback from you, and I'm so appreciative of that. We are continuing on our journey in terms of creativity and Grenada's representation worldwide, yes, on a global scale. I have with me this week Mr. Asher Mains. Asher is an artist firsthand, I got to tell you that. That passion and his runs really deep in his veins for art. He's also an art teacher, and he's also, well, in this capacity for today's conversation, he is the president of the Grenada Arts Council. How are you, Asher? And welcome to Spotlight Grenada.
Doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Yes, fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Asher, before we get on into the conversation, which is going to be focused, yes, on art, but more so our representation of the 2024 Biennale di Venezia. I'm so excited to talk about this. You would not believe I'm so excited. But how has it been for you in terms of the Arts Council and the goals of the council and everything?
Of course, this gives us, kind of a mouthpiece.
Yes.
This allows us to project our voices very loudly on the world stage. Showing in Venice is participating in one of the oldest and, of course, biggest gatherings of contemporary art, which, of course, every 2 years. This is the only Biennale that has national representation.
Yes.
And so it really provides a perfect stage for Grenada to show up with, its best artists every 2 years.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Give us a little history on the Arts Council. I mean, lots of you hear the name popping up here and there, and
Yeah.
I know for a fact, a lot of folks are not aware of, let's say, the vision and the goals of the Grenada Arts Council. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, for one, it's been around for longer than some people imagine.
Yes.
It began in 1964, so we're celebrating 60 years of continuous activity in Grenada. I can read the statement as it's on our website, grenadaartscouncil.com. We are non-government, of course. We are to promote creative potential in our Grenadian environment, encourage a national appreciation for visual art and the need for institutional support and permanent physical structures to exhibit art. We want to make sure that Grenada benefits culturally, socially, and economically from a truly sustainable resource, our artists.
Yeah.
And this falls in line with that, especially in terms of creating a sense of I want to say national pride around the idea that our artists can be people that represent well our culture, our society, our values, etc. In a way, of course, that's uniquely Grenadian.
Absolutely. Now, this is the seventh. This is incredible, and this is wow. This is an accomplishment. 70 year Grenada is representing at the Biennale di Venezia. I think in my past life I probably was Italian. No, go on that. But how would you say, for all these years, Grenada being able to represent, how has it evolved? I know you've worked with many artists, various artists, but how would you say it has evolved?
Yeah, it's a good question. Ultimately, this has become something that is almost well practiced at this point. Every time we go, we increase, the network of people who want to work with Grenada and its artists. We build relationships there. We expand our relationships here, and all around. I would say, as we're looking at the evolution or development, it means we've learned some lessons. We've had some, not great experiences in the process. But overall, it means that we have a group of people who do know what it means to go out into an international arena and perform well.
Yeah. Like with every other, should I say, small business, big dreams, creative industry, creative leaders, dreamers, funding is crucial.
That's the thing, yeah.
Funding is so crucial, Asher. And I want you to elaborate a little bit more on support, because you go out there and you represent, and it looks all great. We're all excited. We're seeing our flag, but there's so much more behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
So much more challenges, you know. And I know you had great support from lots of individuals and maybe private sector here in Grenada. But then I know you also had major support from the START group of Italy. So
absolutely.
tell us, it's kind of like twofold. So if you are at liberty to discuss or share who your support system was on the ground, and also the START group in Italy as well.
Yeah. So this last time we worked, well, the last couple times we worked with the START Group, which is ultimately a publishing company, but they're professionals at putting on art exhibits. And so, of course, aside from funding, working with a group like this means that they're able to find good venues, they're able to find good collaborators, they're able to, it's complex, there's engineers involved, there's architects involved, there's city permits, there's country permits, there's lots of things to sort out.
Yeah.
So working with people with this sort of experience, they're happy to help Grenada financially to be there, partly because it's also auspicious for them to be working as the organizing group for a national pavilion at the Biennale.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I had the opportunity to feature in our past episodes, Sulin, Lao Chitang, and wow, what an incredible story and her experience. But I want you, before we move on to the second half of the show, I want you to just share with us the title, the No Man's Island, the theme and all of that, and how did the artist encapsulate the vision of the theme for this year, if you can?
So let me just expand on that.
Yes.
One, my role this year is the research side. So, I'm working on a PhD in philosophy, and so it kind of leads into thanks into things like this as far as doing the theory work behind the scenes. And so I developed the theme based on the main curator. His theme is foreigners everywhere.
That's right.
And he had some lines about that in terms of everywhere you go, there's foreigners, and then you're a foreigner yourself, and it's some interesting things to reflect on. But someone like Edward Glissant that I read and write about would say that it sounds a little doom and gloom when you say it like that in terms of foreigners everywhere. Because Glissant would say that we need to encounter the other. We haven't become ourselves until we've met enough other people.
Very true.
So in that sense, the foreigners everywhere could be taken another step to say, like, this is a good thing. There's opportunities to become everywhere.
Yep.
And in particular, the way that our artists work with the theme, it's not just in a traditional sense in terms of immigration or identity, but one of our artists worked with plants, and so her photographs of plants and botanicals and so on, almost treating the flora as the other. Of course, Sulin's work focused on her own experience with cancer.
That's right.
And so thinking of it in terms of the other as a disease or a condition, or, and so when we think about ourselves kind of sitting across the table from these other entities among us, it's not just other people. We're dealing with a complex world with, many things that will make us something else.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's a pretty cool way of putting it.
Yeah.
And I think the theme in itself, it allows you to really pull from, if I can say, deep from your creative, psyche, and then you say, okay, because sorry to bring up, I just want to bring up Sulin again. I mean, just think of it, in terms of foreign and.
Yeah, this is not something she invited to her body.
That's right. That's right.
So No Man is an Island is, of course, saying we're all interconnected. And necessarily so. The John Donne poem, of course, I don't have it memorized. But,
that's okay.
It talks about if somebody passes on, part of me passes, because we're all part of humankind.
The connectivity it's incredible. We have a short break coming up, but before that, in terms of your past representation, if you could mention a few of the individuals who have represented us in the past, and if you were in touch with them, what sort of feedback did you get from them based on their experience? I think I remember you saying Sam Ogilvy. I'm not sure. Am I on point with that?
Yeah, he was part of our collective. In 22, along with Ian Friday.
Yes, that's right.
We have Dr. Oliver Benoit is part of the alumni.
Yes.
Of course, this year, and he's shown with us before, Jason DeCaries Taylor.
That's right.
Because, again, his work in Grenada being, the first iteration of his underwater sculptures, that was out of his own pocket, going back to funding. If he waited around for someone to, sponsor the project, might not have gotten done. And so now, showing again with, about 10 years retrospect, this is where things can lead, That's right. I know that, Ministry of Tourism, of course, sponsored this time, and so we had the chair of the board with us, and he encouraged people in his short snippet to develop your craft. Yeah. Young people, middle-aged people, older. If you're doing something creative, again, don't wait. You don't know where it can lead. The artists that have shown in Venice have gotten other opportunities. We had Billy Gerard Frank, a filmmaker, who's been able to show his work in museums and so on. After we had Siobhan Nichols, who same thing, has expanded her practice because of her experience with Venice. And so again,
you just never know,
and you can't make promises. You can't say you've had this experience, now this will happen, because art. Maybe particularly art is so unpredictable in terms of its trajectory. But again, one step at a time, and we feel like what we're doing is worthwhile towards whatever happens in the future.
And that saying, you never know who's watching.
Exactly.
You just never know. You just
true.
never know. So, you just have to keep betting on yourself. Like you mentioned Jason, I know, he just said from pocket.
Yeah.
But then look at the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Look at all the worldwide attention he received as an island, small island. At the first, and now I heard there's little things coming towards Carriacou and all of that.
Yeah.
But that's a different show, right? That's a different show. But that's fantastic. So actually, we're going to take a short break at this time. When we come back, we'll chat about, the team for this year, who's representing Grenada at the 2024 Biennale di Venezia. More after this.
Hello everyone, this is Kurt Knight and you're watching Lexan Digital Media.
Welcome back. I just want to say a special welcome to all our viewers online, and of course those of you viewing via Flow 1 through the Caribbean. Welcome. This is Spotlight Grenada. So happy to have you with us. I'm continuing my conversation with Mr. Asher Means. He's the president of the Grenada Arts Council and artist, and he's telling us all about our great, the experience of all our representatives at Venice, the 2024 Biennale di Venezia. Tell me a little bit about, because I think this was a question someone posed to me directly, just in, casual conversation. Sure. Oh, I'm going to be featuring, and they're like, how is the selection process? How do you decide, okay, this is going to be our team? Is it, do you put an ad out? How does it work? And then if we can get into who were selected.
Yeah, so this last time it was an open call as far as the information was put out. We're looking for applications. I don't think we put too many requirements as far as what they needed to have done before. We just took them in. I think we had 15 solid applications, and not just from Grenada, because there are other people watching. There's some Italians, some Germans, and so on. From there, it goes through a selection process involving alumni of Venice, because there is a literacy to it, because once you've been there and you kind of see how it goes, it's easier to identify, who else could fit in, and how that would go on. So from that sort of process, we came up with the 5 that were sent this year. We have Frederica Adam, a photographer, of course, Jason DeCaries Taylor. He had his 2 aluminum sculptures, and then some photographs of his underwater work. Alma Fakri, who did assemblage, a couple pieces, again playing with notions of the traveler, the foreigner, the visitor. Benaya Matheson, who is originally from Carriacou but lives in the UK, did interesting work with textile, and again thinking about identity and this whole there and here discourse. And then, of course, Susan Lauchutang, who did installation with photographs and so on, kind of documenting her journey.
Great. Now, little birdie told me that Grenada and Cuba, only Caribbean island country represented. Is that true?
For this year, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and we happen to be close in Venice as well. So if
Right.
you visit one, you must go see the
Wow.
other. But Grenada and Cuba are step and step. I think Cuba's been once or twice more. But we started in 2015 and have been there for every iteration since. And then we've done 2 of the architectural biennales, and that's how
right.
it comes to 7. Yeah,
That's right. Wow. We're making some good strides indeed. What do you hope? What is your hope that and vision for persons attending? I mean, we have thousands and thousands of people popping through, and this, by the way, I think you would have mentioned it runs until November.
that's
correct?
right. Yeah.
There are thousands, scores of people who attend, and just the fact that we're there, just the fact that our flag is on display, our word is on display, our name. You know, I'm sure there are lots of folks who still are not sure of where is that island.
Right.
You know, what do you want people to take away from our representation at the show?
Yeah. I mean, of course, lots of things as far as at a very kind of base level. Yeah, we want to introduce Grenada to some people who may not have heard. We want to show Grenada as having, substantive contributions to make to the art world, but also global conversation. Things like climate change comes up often in art. But a lot of industrialized countries don't experience it the way that we would. I was just by the shop the other day, and people are talking about how the mango season is off, and it's that's a very real, and so we could talk about mangoes in Venice because that's something that they wouldn't have maybe heard of before. We do want to inspire our local artists to say, okay, now, because we're trying to build from both sides. We have very grassroots from the ground up, and then going from there, we want to come, from the top down to say, like, we have connections on both sides, and we need to link them now. For the individual artists, there is, the chance of getting more exposure, or, it's not a commercial exhibit, but of course, one hopes that one can continue doing art as a livelihood, and this could help, lots of different outcomes that could happen. I do think our pavilion this year especially did well in responding to the main curator's theme, because sometimes pavilions will just kind of do their own thing, and so again, just being tuned in to what people are saying and making sure that what we say is on the highest level.
Absolutely. So this one is a tricky one because and I'm hoping you can share your personal opinion
I'll try.
in terms of a space, space where it's kind of like the library, which is something else and something I definitely want to touch on, but not with you in this case. But an art gallery, something of national interest, something of national representation. How do we get everyone to showcase, display, their work in one space that is? Just imagine you have a space and you have people coming in. Coming into Grenada, and that's another vehicle right there and another tool of attraction. So, how do you feel about that? What do you?
Yeah. So many thoughts. I mean, when you talk about one of the things that makes art valuable in a society is that it's a visual record of thought and history, and all these things that we're essentially keeping from the public right now. I don't say that in a contentious way, but because we don't have a way of displaying, to our own people, but also people from away, there's a bit of a gap in terms of what we're able to present culturally, historically, etc. It's been a goal since the inception of Arts Council since 1964 to be able to find a place. Right now, we get a small subvention from government. All of our, people are volunteers. And so there just isn't, funding from the way it exists right now to say, okay, we're going to rent that space and make a start. So we are in talks with the Grenada National Museum, which, some of your viewers may have seen the exhibit we did for Independence. We believe that we have a, mutually beneficial relationship, as far as we have artists waiting to bring their art into, the public space. And the museum, of course, is a great location for, building that critical mass. So not only would we like to continue the activity there, but of course we do dream of, a Grenada National Art Museum that shows both historical work, because we do have a collection of historical work in storage, but also, contemporary work. So maybe we can bring artists from Venice right back and say, just so that we can see it the same way here that we saw it there, we have a space to do that. So that's
you're onto something. You're onto something.
Absolutely a dream. Yeah, I mean, because ultimately, if we're talking about post-colonial sentiments, usually resources leave the island, and so we do want to create that channel back.
I agree.
To say, that not only do we have similar institutions as first world countries, but we have a place that seems to value them the same way that they do.
Yeah, totally agree. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly.
Fingers crossed, and maybe the air suit should, hopefully we get that out there in the right channel. Plans for, and this might be a little bit of a tall order here in terms of question, but fingers crossed again, hopefully next year. How do you see things evolving in terms of representation? Because I know you did mention that, hey, listen, it is an art show that encompasses so much: photography, sculpture, actual art, acrylic, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
How do you see it, maybe evolving in terms of our representation? What else can? I'm just asking this question based on someone who might be looking at this show, who might say, listen, I have a creative, artistic gift, talent, work that I'd like to showcase. So how do you see things, maybe flipping the script a little bit, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, this could take up the whole time in terms of, because ultimately it's a question about, well, how do we further develop our own scene? I would say first off, if you're someone who has any aspirations, just ask a question. All of us are very available in terms of myself or Susan Maines or Oliver Benoit, or some of you may know Milton Williams. He's shown before. Just to ask the question in terms of where is my work looking like now versus where it could be. In terms of plans, some of that goes into the other hats that I wear. As far as, I have, I host a drawing session every 2 weeks at Art House 473 in Caliste. I do teach, short courses, mainly for adults, through Art School Greens. We're always, looking for exhibition opportunities for artists. We get questions from curators and gallerists outside of Grenada as far as who do you have that's in this demographic? They want someone who's young and who's painting like this, and it's like, well, we have this person, and so some of it is just, again, connecting dots for people. And again, some of it comes back to leading by example. As all of us are artists ourselves, none of us are professional. Well, we have the galleries and so on, but we're not art agents. We make our living when our paintings sell. And so leading by example in terms of going through the same work as far as developing your own practice, improving, applying to shows. There's always open calls out there somewhere to apply to. Doing the work to really be diligent about pushing yourself forward and not maybe feeling like you reach already so you can just kind of relax. No. Because that is, we're talking about sustainable resources.
That's right.
Our artists will be around for 40, 50, 60, 80 more years.
That's right.
They don't retire like athletes,
That's right. Hey, listen. And I'm sure the vision changes as time changes, and growth and everything.
Yeah. And so these are the conversations we're having is for the next several generations. What are we doing now that's helping to move that forward?
That's awesome. Before we wrap up, Asha, how can folks connect with you if they do have questions? You just mentioned, hey, just ask a question. So if they need to ask a question or inquire, where can they reach you?
Social media is the easiest. We have, of course, Instagram and Facebook for all of the entities. I would say look for Grenada Arts Council, Facebook, Instagram. You could follow our things as far as Art House 473. Art School Greens, Susan Main's Gallery. There's several ways to get connected. Yeah, and then of course, you know, I can be found. I'm trying to think of how accessible it is.
I know.
Yeah, but yeah, we're not out of reach.
Yeah.
You know, everything. If you want to be a part of the conversation, just present yourself.
Just reach out.
Exactly.
Anything else in the pipelines as it relates to Art in Grenada, the Arts Council?
Yeah. So we are looking. Well, I don't want to let it out of the bag too soon, but we are looking to have an exhibition of our permanent collection coming up without dates or anything yet. Because Arts Council has been collecting artwork since the 1960s, and so this will be in collaboration with the museum, and part of it will be one to sensitize people to the fact that we do have something. We have a start to a collection, but the other component of that exhibit will be writing, because for some people we don't have all the information because research is difficult when you don't have the archives. And so, you know, some of our artists, especially that have passed in the last several years, if people would come in and write some of their sentiments or memories or maybe details about their bio that we don't have, just so that we can kind of, again, move towards connecting dots and creating a fuller picture of our whole history of visual thought.
In that space.
Exactly.
In that space. It is a dream we would love to see come to fruition, just having a space where, you know, you're exposed to so much more. And think of, let's just think of the whole mix of things for the younger generation coming up. You know, it'll just be something different, something exciting that they can explore. Hey, they might like it, they might not. But guess what? It's there.
Exactly.
It's there. So
and that's how we see a lot of the volunteer activity is we're volunteering now so the next generation can get paid to do it.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
You know, hopefully creating jobs for the future in art.
Absolutely. Asha, thank you so very much. I truly appreciate your time, and keep us posted with anything else that's coming up in the pipelines. You never know, we might just show up with our camera, right?
Great.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Best wishes. And a special good morning to the team at the Grenada Arts Council. And what is it? A special hello also to Miss Suzanne Maines. So that's it for this episode of Spotlight Grenada. Certainly hope you've enjoyed it. Reminding you again, this series essentially is just showcasing, you know, great Grenadians who are doing great things for trial and state, and just representing us wholesomely and proudly. And we're happy to share the journey and the stories with you. Don't forget to follow our Facebook page. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And we look forward to sharing much more conversations that are uplifting with you. See you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.